Historical Reconstruction of Aryan X. Episode 100, The Fictionality of Alexander the Great. The period when the hero named Alexander appeared based in Macedonia, Europe, coincides exactly with the period when the Jin Dynasty seized power in the emperor's fortress in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, and proclaimed itself emperor. However, history was manipulated so that Alexander of Macedonia seized control of the entire regions of Central Asia, India, and the Middle East, without any mention of the existence of the Chenja, son of heaven, the emperor who was in Turkmenistan, Central Asia. 1. The era of Alexander's conquest, 330 BC to 250 BC. This is the period from when King He-Mun of the Jin Dynasty in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, proclaimed himself emperor until just before Jin Shi Huangji unified the remaining central plains, Jungwan, of Central Asia and seized control of the world.
Alexander II Philip ascends the throne in Macedonia. Establishment of the League of Corinth with Macedonia as the leader. 334 BC. Alexander begins the Eastern Expedition, Dongjong. 331 BC. Darius is defeated at the Battle of Gaugamela. The Persian Empire falls. 330 BC. Alexander advances into Iran. 327 BC. Alexander invades India. 324 BC. Alexander returns to Babylon. 323 BC. Alexander dies.
Now, let us examine the history of the Jin Dynasty, the central government located in Turkmenistan, Central Asia. I quote the basic annals of Qin from Sa-ji, records of the Grand Historian. Jin Hyogong Yang of the Jin Dynasty in Central Asia. Jin Hyogong, Duke Hyo of Qin, Yang 381 BC to 338 BC, is the 25th monarch of the Jin Dynasty during the Warring States period of China, reign 361 BC to 338 BC, and is the son of Hyongong, Duke Xian. After ascending to the throne, he devoted all his strength to governing the country, deeply subduing the feudal lords who had ignored the Jin Dynasty and issued orders downward to find talented people. He employed Song-ong Shangyang from the Wei state and implemented reforms, Bianbop, twice in 359 BC and 351 BC. As a result, the Jin Dynasty rapidly increased its national power and emerged as a powerful nation. In the 11th year of Hyogong, 350 BC, he moved the capital to Hamyong, Shangyang, and levied taxes from military funds for the first time in Jin history. Externally, he made peace with the Zhou state and formed an alliance with the Han state, and again formed a three-state alliance of Jin, Zhou, and Qi to attack the Wei state, the strongest power at the time, from east and west. He won several wars against the Wei state, occupied An-up of Wei, and pioneered the land east of the Naksu River. The Wei state, which was a superpower in the early Warring States period, was pushed by the Jin's eastward policy and moved its capital from An-up in Hadong to Daliang in the east. He died at the relatively young age of 44 due to illness. Jin He-Munwang Yang Sa, Qin He-wen Ying Si, 337 to 311 BC, is the 26th monarch of the Jin Dynasty. He is the son of Hyogong and the father of Wu Wang Tong, King Wu Tong, and Za Xiangwang Ji, King Za Xiang Ji. Inheriting his father Hyogong's policy, he conquered Pa Chak to further elevate Jin's national prestige. Since he used the title of king for the first time in Jin during his reign, he is also called He-Mun Gun, Lord He-Wen, before using the title of king. For reference, Pa Chak is Seoul, where the great papal court was located. The fact that Jin He-Munwang Yang Sa proclaimed himself king means he became emperor in the emperor's fortress. One could only become emperor by seizing this emperor's fortress, and accordingly all feudal states obeyed the emperor's command. Purge of Song-ong. During his time as crown prince, he violated Song-ong's laws, and as punishment, his tutors Gongja-gon and Gongsan-ga were punished by having their noses cut off and being tattooed, respectively. Also, there was a past event where his attendant Chuk-hwan was executed. The crown prince resented this, and after Hyeogong's death, he framed Song-ong and executed him by dismemberment, gur-yal. However, he continued to use Song-ong's laws, and the basic national policy did not differ from the Hyeogong era. Employment of Chong-yi. Due to Song-ong's reforms, the Jin dynasty significantly increased its national power, becoming strong enough that neighboring countries feared it and gave it gifts owed to the Ju dynasty. Based on this national power, he employed the strategist Chong-yi and frequently subjugated the Wei, Che, and Cho states using the title of king. In 324 BC, 5 states, Han, Zhou, Wei, Yan, and Cho, formed an alliance force and invaded Jin, but He Moonwang entrusted the army to Churli Ji, who defeated the allied forces. Annexation of Pa Chok. Also, in 316 BC, he annexed Pa Chok, the hinterland of Gwanjun, where the emperor's fortress was located. In this region, a country with a unique culture based on the Sang-Shing-Du culture flourished, and this country was subject to the Ju dynasty. Before conquering Chok, He Moonwang consulted Chong-yi and Sama Chok about taking Chok. Chong-yi opposed taking Chok and argued for taking the Ju dynasty, the center of the country, but Sama Chok argued for taking Chok to gain a hinterland. He Moonwang adopted Sama Chok's opinion and conquered Chok and gained a large granary. Also, it became possible to move troops using the river against Cho in the lower reaches of the Zhongkang, placing Jin in an overwhelmingly advantageous position compared to before. Pa Chok is the place name where the Great Papal Court was located.
Subjugation of Cho and establishment of Hanjung-gun. In 312 BC, when the Cho state invaded Jin, Jin counter-invaded the Hanjung region of Cho and established Hanjung-gun there. When Cho invaded again, Jin defeated them at Namjan, Lantian, close to Hamyang. This event became the prelude to Cho's decline and fall. He Moonwang died the following year, 311 BC. Although he hated Song-ong, maintaining his laws without abolishing them is highly evaluated compared to the Cho state, where Ogi, or Wuchi, the leader of reform, was killed and the achievements of his reforms were subsequently discarded. Also, the annexation of Pa Chok is evaluated as one of the factors that allowed Jin to grow into the strongest nation. Pa Chok was the place where the Great Papal Court which authorized the emperor was located, so seizing this place was an urgent matter for the Jin dynasty which had proclaimed the emperor. Now, the history of the Chunchu Jenguk period, the center of the Scythian Aryans, existed in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, but the biography of Alexander does not mention the content of this place at all. Then it is simple. Either Aryan X's historical restoration is fiction or European history is manipulated. I am confident Alexander's history is fiction. I have already explained the fictionality of Alexander set as a hero of Macedonia. However, during the same period Alexander was active, powerful absolute monarchs were emerging in the Balkans, Middle East, Asia Minor, and Central Asia. Coincidentally, Alexander's invasion route should have encountered the reality of the Jin dynasty in Central Asia and the history of the Roman Empire, Armenia, and Kurdistan in the Anatolian Peninsula. Yet, Alexander's biography does not mention these powers in the Anatolian Peninsula or the reality of the Emperor Jin dynasty in Central Asia at all. In other words, either Alexander is manipulated history or the Aryan series is fake. The fact that He Moonwang of Jin proclaimed himself king means he became the emperor, the central power of the actual Wangbu, royal government, in the central plains of Central Asia. After destroying Turkmenistan, Central Asia, the center of global Scythian Aryans, and transplanting the histories that were in Central Asia to the history of the Far East of East Asia, the place of Turkmenistan became an empty space. Using this, the forces manipulating history buried the reality and history of the Jin Dynasty of Central Asia that ruled the world. Instead, they created a fictional character named Alexander in European history and manipulated history in reverse, claiming that Europe, under the alias of Alexander, seized control passing through the Anatolian Peninsula, crossing Central Asia and reaching India. Also, destroying the center of the Scythian Aryans in Central Asia and transplanting the histories that were in Central Asia to the history of the current Middle East and the history of Elam, established it as the history of the current India. Please do not be too enthusiastic about Alexander. A fake is a fake. Meaning of Macedonia. Ma means enormously big. K is identical to the meaning of Ka, Saka, or Scythia. Do means land or earth. Nia refers to Ionias, Greece, or Hellas, or Laoyang, the place name where the emperor of Central Asia resided. Thus, Macedonia, where Alexander was said to be born, was indeed Korean. In the next episode, I will reveal the identity of the Oronkei, or barbarians, and the Xiongnu who appeared in the Jin Dynasty. Please refer to the attached blog for details regarding the YouTube video release schedule and titles, as well as the title and table of contents of the prepared book. https://blog.naver.com/go Kim Garcia.